Hey guys, M2 Collector here with another figure review. Next up is the Hasbro Marvel Legends Series Vintage Retro Tigra figure. This is in the Avengers or Marvel Universe. ToyBiz inspired. You know, X-Men has its own retro card. Spider-Man has its own retro card. So I've just kind of considered these like the Avengers type figures, even though like Spider-Man and Wolverine and stuff have been in that line. But this is really cool. GameStop had it online and available in stock, so I ordered it. It's been a while since I've had it. There's just been so many action figures coming out lately. It's been insane. I totally did not anticipate finding the Spider-Man No Way Home wave when I was down in Southern California on vacation. But lo and behold, I did. So that pushed out a lot of these action figure reviews. So I'm finally getting to Tigra here. The little shout out, I forget what they call it, but it's it says Cat's Head Amulet. So that is pretty cool. You can see she comes with an interchangeable head. Also a pair of fists. Looking at the back of the package, we got some awesome artwork, and it says Tigra, the feline fury, fast feline reflexes, and a prehensile tail make Tigra a dazzling force to be reckoned with. So pretty interesting. So I'm going to open this thing up. I do have two of them because all these vintage retro carded figures, I get two of. One to hang on the wall, one to open up. I do not have the original, I think it was a Hasbro release. I could be wrong. It could have been a ToyBiz release, but I do not have that figure to do a comparison, so my apologies. But I will, because she uses like the newer style elbows and knees. I will do a comparison with Shriek and with like a couple of older female figures that I have nearby. I have a Rogue and a Silk figure, so let's get to it. Okay, and here is the Tigra figure out of the package, and it is a pretty good one. We get surprisingly a lot of new sculpt on this figure. I think damn near all of it. Maybe the hip pieces might not be new. But a lot of new mold on this. Now, there's going to be a few possibilities of other figures that they could do. Maybe a Wolfsbane figure. We shall see. But a lot of new stuff on here. But there's a couple of weird things about the figure that I don't really like. So we'll kind of get into it. First, looking at her accessories. She comes with two different heads. So this one right here is the one that actually comes on the figure out of the package. We'll take a closer look at that when we zoom in. I'll swap them out. But on the figure, we have those clawed hands, and then she also comes with the pair of fists. Now, even the hands have sculpted fur on them. So again, this thing is pretty much all new. It's actually kind of crazy that we would get something that's going to be all new sculpt, all new molding, because with these vintage retro figures, majority of the time they're simple repaints. You know, the heads might be new, there might be one or two new things, but it's pretty rare that we get something that's a brand new mold. Now, as I say that, I'm thinking back, you know, the Spider-Man wave had that brand new Spider-Man body, had that armored Daredevil. So I guess those ones kind of broke that mold into what we have now, to where we can get new sculpts. So I get it, and I understand that now thinking about it. But it's still interesting to see something that's, you know, completely brand new, even at this point. You know, something especially that's a fan channel exclusive that's not going to be found in Walmarts or Targets. You know, you're only going to find this online, specialty shops, you know, GameStop, whatever the case may be. So I think maybe that's what's the more surprising thing to me. But let's get her off the stand. Let's take a closer look at her. Okay, so here's an up-close look at the Tigra figure. This head sculpt looks really good. This is kind of the growling head sculpt, so you can see her teeth a little bit, which is nice. The face paint, her eyes, everything came out looking really good. The hair is cool. This is kind of flowing in the wind as she's going on the attack kind of thing. But what I find odd is it sits pretty high up on the neck. Now, I have to look at the other head sculpt to see if it sat that high, but it was kind of weird. So when I popped the heads off, look at that dumbbell joint, that ball peg there is quite large compared to most female, or actually most head sculpts in general. But her head seems a little small to me for such a large ball peg. And that could just be, you know, a little nitpicky, or the case may be. But because of that, I just feel like that head fit on there a little bit odd. It was kind of a pain to put on, whereas this one simply snaps on no problem. And for me, it feels like it sits a little bit lower on the neck, so it looks a little bit better. So this is the way I'm probably going to display her, but both head sculpts are done really, really nice. Again, the paint apps for the eyes are phenomenal. Like, it just looks really good. The green really stands out. I really like the way it came out. And her hair, is a little bit more kind of down there. But looking at the figure, you can see the shoulder, her shoulders. You can actually see that sculpted fur on there. You know, at the upper arm, maybe the bicep there, maybe that's not new because there's no sculpted fur on that. But the forearm, you can actually see some sculpted fur there. The elbow, we actually get some sculpted fur there. And then one of the nitpicky things is the plastic of the elbow, I think, must be a harder plastic or something because it's a different orange. It's kind of like a dulled out looking orange. It's just not as bright. And then the same goes for the knees, kind of have the same thing going on there. So the elbows just aren't quite the same color. So that drives me crazy a little bit, but it's not terrible. Again, fur on the forearm, fur on the back of the hand. There, the torso is all new as well. So she has this bikini top, and that's all molded. So that little piece there, that's molded. Her bikini bottoms there, you know, that strap piece, that is all molded on there. So again, this is kind of, you know, a unique sculpt that you're not really going to see on other figures. The upper thigh, we get a little bit of fur right above the knee. No fur on the knees themselves. The lower legs, we actually get fur on the back of the calves. That looks pretty good. All the stripes on there are also painted really well, by the way, as I drop her there. And then the feet actually have sculpted fur on there as well. Looking at the tail, I'm not sure if the tail is supposed to be removable. Mine kind of popped out just fine. I don't know if it's supposed to be glued in there or whatever, or how it's supposed to be. But the good thing about that is you could position the tail a little bit differently. So if you wanted to get the tail going up like so, you could. If you wanted to get the tail on actually the other side of her, you could do that as well. I think out of the package, it was probably like this position there. So it's kind of cool that you could do that. If you guys have this figure already, you guys let me know down in the comments below. Is it made to be removable like that, or does mine just, the glue was already popped out? But yeah, she just looks fantastic. So now let's zoom out for her articulation, which is actually a little disappointing. Okay, Tigra's articulation. The way the hair is molded, you're not going to get her to look up. She can look down that much. It is on the dumbbell joint, so it's going to be limited already. We get some head pivot going in there. But let's swap out the other head again so you can see some of the movement, because this is going to be kind of the more action head. And again, this one doesn't pop on as nicely and sits higher on the neck. But with that, you can get her to look up, I guess, a little bit, not really a whole lot, but you can get her to look down more depending on how you kind of position it on that ball peg. But again, just sits really high. I don't know if it's just me, but you get a lot more pivot going on with this one. Then you can actually do a full swivel with it. Her joints are kind of a little bit stiff, so you may need to warm it up a little bit. You can get the shoulder to go out that much. You get a full rotation in there, of course. Have an upper bicep swivel and double jointed elbows, which are great because that's what we are getting now with female figures, which is awesome. So double jointed elbow that much. They are very stiff as well. The same with the knees. So again, if you want to do so, you might want to warm it up a little bit before you start messing with those joints. Swivel at the wrist and a hinge. The diaphragm joint, so she can pivot to her left that much. She can pivot to her right that much. She can go back that much, but you'll start to see a gap in the plastic there. Going forward is really hardly anything, and you actually see some gap in the plastic there as well. But you get the swivel at the diaphragm joint. Since there is no waist swivel, I guess that's not going to change with female figures. Legs go out that far apart there. She can kick forward only that much, so not a whole lot, unfortunately. Doesn't really go back either. We have an upper thigh cut in there, double jointed knee like so. Foot hinges down that much, and you get a little bit hinge up. Be careful. These feet feel pretty rubbery and not so much a hard plastic like a lot of other feet. So be careful when working that hinge. You want to really hold on to that foot tight. But hinge up that much, ankle pivot, and you have peg holes at the bottom of the feet. Pretty shallow pegs as it goes towards the toe. So be careful with that there, or so you're at least aware. But yeah, not pretty disappointing for, you know, a cat-like character to not really be able to move a whole lot. So we've come a long way with female articulation, you know, with the double jointed elbows and now being pinless. That's all great, but we need to figure out, or Hasbro needs to figure out, how to do more range of motion in the torso, the body, and the legs as well at the hips, because for her to only kick forward that much, I think that's kind of a problem. I mean, you could work it a little bit when you turn, so that is better there, but you know, I just feel like she should be able to do a whole lot more, and I just cut it into the thigh quite a bit. So so maybe don't do what I just did. Damn, that cut into it pretty easily. So again, very limited at the hip. Don't force it too much because it's going to cut right into that thigh. Good thing I have two, right? One to hang on the wall, and then this one just to display. Okay, so here's a comparison with some of the other female figures. So this new body mold, again, I really like. It is nice. Between these two figures, I think the only thing that is reused is actually just going to be those biceps, the upper arms. Everything else on Tigra really seems to be new. The hip pieces might be the same as well. But looking at her compared to some of the older Marvel Legends female body molds, hopefully we never see this body mold again, which I think is the same legs as these. This one was okay. Never had a problem with this female body mold, but like I have my Wolfsbane figure. This was the Danny Moonstar, but you can see the leg is really warped, and I really can't get her to stand up too nicely. But what I want to do, and this would have to be like a major kit bash type of thing, but you wouldn't really use this body for Wolfsbane. You'd probably use this body, but maybe swap out the legs or something. But let's see if this Wolfsbane head will fit on this body anyway. And it does snap on there, but it looks really high on that neck peg. But I'm sure somebody will probably do something like using the arms or using the legs or something and kit bashing it with another body to do something. Okay, that is my review of the Tigra figure. I'm trying to keep the reviews a little bit shorter as I've not really been feeling well the last few days, and I'm trying to catch up. Solid figure. I think it's awesome that we get a lot of new molded pieces for her and that are going to be specific to her. I think at least for a while. So I'm excited to see what other figures they can make out of this, but it's probably going to be a while. But the double jointed pinless elbows on female figures is such a nice touch. So thank you, Hasbro, for finally doing it. You took way too damn long to do it, but you finally did it, and it's working out really well. I love the vintage carded figures, and I would like to see more. I'll get as many as Hasbro wants to release. Hercules has been released overseas, so we'll probably start seeing him in the US here pretty soon. Sandman, I think Big Bad Toy Store has gotten Sandman in already. I could be wrong on that. I believe that's where people have been getting Sandman from. So there's that. The Fantastic Four retro cards are going to be coming soon. Dorkside Toys had the Thing only in stock, so that was pretty cool. So I'm excited for all those figures. You guys let me know down in the comments below what you think of the vintage carded figures. What do you think of this Tigra figure? If you like this video, please do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe if you haven't already done so. And as always, thank you for watching.